Thanks for joining us on Tandem Radio for a very special segment, By Design, focused on helping you understand how God designed you so that you may be healthy and productive in fulfilling God's purposes in your life for many years to come. Now let's join our host, health expert and public speaker, Dr. James Proodian.
Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare and ProodianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to help educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality disease-free years as possible. And each week at By Design, we're trying to layer in. That's what I like to call, I tell my patients all the time, healthcare is layering. So it's like an onion. We want to peel back layer after layer. It's not one shoe size fits all. It is basically looking at education as the key to longevity. The better educated we are in God's methodology towards our physical, our nutritional, and our psychological health, the better equipped we are to not only enjoy our lives, have less pain, but to do His work. So with saying that, it was really interesting this past week. You've heard me talk about how health literacy is the key to longevity. It's actually been the tagline to one of my companies, which is Wellness at Work, which is my public speaking company. And Wellness at Work has been teaching in organizations and businesses and schools and universities for almost 20 years now. And the phrase health literacy is the key to longevity. It is something that just rolls off my tongue, as well as the paperwork that I use because it's my tagline. So this past week, my sister Sharon gave me a call, and my sister Sharon's the smart one of the four of us. I mean, very, very bright, industrial engineer, works at Verizon, all of these great abilities. And she was watching TV one night, and she was really hyped up to tell me about health literacy. And she shared this story with me that on QVC, they were selling, I guess, like a soda maker. I don't know anything about these devices. Apparently, it's a way you could save money on buying soda, which you shouldn't be buying in the first place. But anyway, a woman had called up and had shared a story that her husband, she was looking to save money on soda because her husband drinks 10, 20-ounce sodas a day. And every day she has to pack his cooler with 10, 20-ounce sodas. So as Sharon was telling me this story, she was just, this is a smart gal with a master's degree, and she said she couldn't believe the lack of education at a very basic fundamental level. And so sometimes I hope the show speaks at a first grade level. I really do. I hope By Design is speaking to some of us at literally a first grade level, because I feel as though health education has to start early. Like, no, it's not appropriate to be drinking that much soda, if any soda at all. And if you guys have been listening to me, you know why. I mean, so here is a woman looking to save money, and she wasn't even asking the right questions, because this woman thought it was completely appropriate to be drinking, that much soda in the course of a day. So health literacy, and thank you to my sister for sharing that story with me, but health literacy is the key to understanding the why. Why should we be proactive? I'm the parent of 5 children, and I'm sure I'm speaking to many parents out there. Why should we be proactive in the physical, nutritional, and psychological health of our families? And our last couple of shows, we've been in the structural integrity part of, this is part 3 of structural integrity, part of the show where we're talking about cellular design. Because if we're going to understand how the human body has been made, we have to understand the designer. And I look at the designer and look at God and understand we began as 2 cells. So we are cellular organisms. And I like to think of our bodies like a beach. There's literally billions and trillions of grains of sand. And as we look out on one of those pristine, beautiful beaches, we're looking at us. That's the way we're put together. Trillions of cells, all differentiated to do different processes and have different features and different parts, which you learned over the last couple of weeks, and they work as one unique organism that God has created, which is the miracle of life. So if you'd like to catch up, please go to Tandem Radio at tandemradio.com, and you can take a look at my archived shows under the By Design tab. We also have a YouTube channel that has them all sequenced from show 1 to today, which is show 40. Please become a member of drproodian.com, which is my blog site, if you'd like to read my weekly blogs that come out every Wednesday. Our Bible verse, Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible, but that does require us taking a proactive approach in all the parts of our lives to be better stewards and to have a learned behavior, like that woman who called up the show and asked about the soda. I really wish the salesperson at QVC indicated, well, if you're going to drink that much soda, you might want to really make sure you have a good health plan, because you're going to need it. So as we move through structural integrity today, which is going to be part 3, I'm not sure how many shows I'm going to be doing on structural integrity. I want to share with you something that came out of functional medicine recently. Functional medicine is I welcome you to put it in your browser and check out functional medicine. Find a functional medicine practitioner, because I want to read to you something that really supports the health literacy understanding of the way doctors and clinicians should be treating. An article came out, The Art of Medicine, Patient-Centered Care and Therapeutic Partnership. And I'll read it to you. A patient-centric approach refers to healthcare that is respectful of and responsive to individual patient preferences, needs, and values, and ensures patients' values guide all of the clinical decisions. Patient-centered care is at the center of what is called therapeutic partnership, the relationship that forms between a patient and clinician that empowers the patient to take ownership of their own healing. The power of therapeutic partnerships comes from the idea that patients who are active participants in the development of their therapeutic plan feel more in control of their own well-being and more likely to make sustained lifestyle changes to improve their health. So the first paragraph means be involved. It means the more involved you are in anything in your life, you are an active participant. You could look at any part of your life and you could see that. I always find it kind of comical in a weird way to watch guys on a weekend spend 2, 3, 4 hours polishing every nook and cranny of their car, making sure everything, they have different polishes and waxes, and yet then they turn around and eat a cheeseburger, french fries, and a chocolate shake, which is the #1 consumed meal in America, and not think anything about the design of their human body. And they put more time into the design of steel. I mean, think about how kind of idiotic that is. Here we are walking around with the most amazing miracle, which is the human body, that is made up of these components that I've shared with you over the last 40 weeks. And each one of these components needs to be nourished and cared for. Yes, it's great to take care of the things we possess, but we certainly can't neglect the most important thing that God has created for us, and that's our human body. So let's move on. While many studies have demonstrated that patient-centered care improves patient-clinician communication, patient perceptions, and patient behaviors, evidence of its impact on patient outcomes is harder to find. However, a new observation study suggests that patient-centered care approach does indeed improve patient outcomes. A recent study came out in the Annals of Internal Medicine, researched with nearly 800 patient audio recorded visits to their clinicians. They found that the patients whose clinicians identified and addressed the real relevant factors in that patient's life, they adjusted treatment plans accordingly, had significantly better health outcomes than the clinicians who did not. That's what makes relationship health care so essential. Doctors who just give you advice, tell you what to do, don't build a relationship, is yesterday's healthcare. We need to have that partnership and that relationship with the ones that you're working with as clinicians. So to accompany editorial sums of their factors to make substantial improvements in health outcomes and healthcare quality, healthcare professionals and organizations should move beyond traditional healthcare provision models. They need to redefine their responsibilities to and partnerships with their patients, their families, and other groups and organizations and institutions. We need to build social, meaning that that relationship that you have with your doctor has to be one that you're part of. So I wanted to share that with you as we started this, because the grains of the sand require attention. Okay, so here you are, you're bringing all of those wonderful grains of sand to your doctor and your therapist and your clinicians. And our job on my side of the fence is to identify where the toxification is, where the lack of digestion or assimilation of your foods are. Is any or any of these systems, biology, body parts, is there inflammation I'm dealing with? Am I dealing with stress? Am I dealing with fatigue? Am I dealing with structural integrity or lack of structural integrity? These are the processes in which should be going through your clinician's mind, not just single dimensional. And if we look at it from a cellular perspective, we realize that even what we eat can produce pain. So what I mean by that is you've got these grains of sand on a beach. They require attention. They require grooming. They require to be taken care of, just like the guy polishing the car out there. But even the foods we eat create biochemicals inside of all of those cells. Things like lactic acid, potassium ions, prostaglandins 2, histamine, bradykinin. These are all biochemical agents that are inflammatory and produce pain. So what I'm saying is, I went off course there, but I kind of did it. I want you to stay with me. We're looking at your body from a cellular perspective. That's structural integrity. And each one of those cells requires maintenance, like a guy out there, taking care of their car, or your gals out there, you have things that you take care of. You polish the crystal, or maybe you have a special possession that you take care of. Our bodies require that daily maintenance. And from a structural perspective, that's what today's show and into next show is going to really focus on, because now we're but we're going to go more into the physical mode, meaning that these cells make up physical structures. So if we think about cells forming a bone, cells forming a muscle, this is the physical apparatus that our body has given us for structure, mobility, and strength. So you think about the designer. He had to design a frame, just like a framer has to frame a house. It starts with the skeletal system. Then on top of that skeletal system, in order to connect it together, he had to connect bone to bone using ligaments. Then he realized that, hey, we have to line some of these bones, particularly in the joint capsules, with cartilage. And then from there, he had to create muscle for power and movement. But muscle has to turn into tendon before it connects into the bone. And all of these structural components, and I'm sure many of you have heard about bursitis and tendinitis and fractured bone, or what's called a slip disc in layman terminology. All of these physical structural components, which are made up of cells. The show now is going to take on a very physical approach. We're going to be talking about that daily pain that affects the back of our necks or between our shoulder blades or our lower back, and why. We're going to be talking about what this structure, this thing, feel your arm, or feel your thumb, or the way your eyes blink. This is all structural movement. This had to be created. This had to be designed. I'm not really going to be focused too much on our organs right now, okay? Liver and spleen and our heart and our brain. We're talking more musculoskeletal or neuromusculoskeletal. The way each one of us wakes in the morning and has to move to get out of bed and to sit, to stand, to run, to lift, to bend. All of the physical activity that we do, we move from the womb to the tomb. Our life requires motion, and motion is what is critical to the human body. The human body needs to have motion. Yet so many Americans just give away that God-given ability to have motion in their lives by sitting too long, resting too long, not being physically active. So our bodies actually decay and our structural integrity breaks down. And as our structural integrity breaks down over time, even without trauma, we produce pain. Now maybe I got your attention on that one. I was listening to the radio on Bloomberg radio this morning, driving around. I just happened to catch the news on Bloomberg. I was switching a dial, and I had heard a study. And it's not, something that was profound to me, but that the incident rate, I think since 2000 was the study, or since 1999, 400% higher incident rate of death being caused by pharmaceutical painkillers for our elderly, particularly women. A 400% increase in the last decade or so. And that is because painkillers are so widely prescribed. We could walk into any pharmacy and buy an over-the-counter painkiller. Yet, not much is, we talk about this stuff like it's candy, but this is far more deadly in our society than even heroin and cocaine are. Now, I'm not endorsing heroin and cocaine, but we have to look at drugs as having a byproduct, and painkillers are right now killing a lot of Americans. So we understand that if we fall off a ladder, our structural integrity is impaired. We break a bone, or if we get into a car accident and sprain our neck or our knee or our ankle, we see the swelling. We all kind of have a really good grasp of what's called macro trauma. And macro trauma exists in those traumatic episodes of our life when we are blunt trauma, or physical blunt trauma causes us pain, causes us swelling, or causes a broken bone or a herniated disc. And some of us even are more prone to structural integrity problems than others. For instance, if someone has osteoporosis and has a mild fall, they're going to be more prone to fracture a bone than someone who doesn't have osteoporosis. So structural integrity at its core is cellular, but now we're going to come out of the cellular realm, and instead of looking at grains of sand, we're going to try to look at it as a beach, and all of those grains of sand coming together to give us this physical mobility every day that we need, hopefully as pain-free as possible. But we do realize that we've all probably been through some form of blunt trauma in our life, and we realize that that produces pain, and pain is actually a way the body gives us a signal, hey, don't use this body part. That's why that Doan's pill commercial drives me crazy. The guy's out raking leaves, he gets back pain, the wife gives him the Doan pills, he's outside raking again. The body gave you pain, stop. Don't take a masker of the pain. Don't just mask the pain. So in our next show, we're going to dive into the actual tendon, ligament, tissue, bone, all of the structural body parts from an anatomical and physiological perspective that allows us to move, bend, twist, and do all of the various things that we do, including some of those dances that I watch on TV that I can't believe people can do. So what we're doing is we're wrapping up show 40. We're looking at cellular design, moving on to structural integrity, part 3. That's what today was, and moving into part 4. I wanted to thank you all for listening to the By Design radio program and joining me, Dr. James Proodian, for this episode. If you'd like more information on me, please go to ProodianHealthcare.com. Submit any questions you have. Please become a blog member. God bless you and your families this week.
You've been listening to By Design with Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare. To learn more, visit us at tandemradio.com. That's tandemradio.com, or on Facebook. And don't forget to email us with your questions. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, hope you have a healthy week, and we look forward to you joining us next time for more fantastic insights from Dr. James Proodian on By Design, a special production of Tandem Radio.